Speakman, FC Copenhagen got Bajmo on a free transfer, and now it's the same with Alex Kral. Is that a sign that FCK doesn't want to spend a lot of money, or is it simply just a good business?
I think, look, you have to operate on good business principles. So we're trying to find the best players we can in the most economical setting. I think how a deal is made up, obviously a transfer fee is one part of it. So to suggest it's a cheap option, I think is unfair. We're trying to get the right players that fit. Once we get the right players that fit, then we can work back and work out where they fit in our economics to make sure that obviously we can also execute all the deals we're trying to do in the background that unfortunately you guys don't know about yet.
But is it right to think that you just got the budget set a few days ago?
No, these guys here they're financially prudent people. They've had the budget set and they've run on a 6-month cycle. So what we've done is we've made some adjustments for sure, because we want to make sure that we can do everything that we want to do. I've asked them to work with some principles that I feel is going to help us in the short term. We've got loads of collaboration on that, and it's allowing us to move forward quickly.
Can you say anything about the size of the budget compared to, for instance, last year?
No, I can't.
You said that you were in talks with 5 to 6 players. How many are you expecting that FC Copenhagen need?
It's difficult to say because obviously we don't know where we'll get at the end. We have obviously some prediction in terms of the next sort of cycle of the next 3 or 4 trades in and out. We know that for us we have a squad plan, so it's about making sure that we execute that squad plan. It's not about how many numbers we get, but we're not always in control of somebody phoning one day and offering, making an offer on one of our players. So for us we have to try to get the right balance in the squad. So we're really comfortable in this next period, trying to make sure that the players that are coming in fit, and we have some vacancies because obviously we have let more players go so far, which is fair to say. So we have some room to manoeuvre, but we'll do that all the way through to the deadline to try to make sure the team's as competitive as possible.
We've heard Bo Svensson speaking about a deadline on the training camp in Austria, about that he wanted quality players before the first competitive match, which is in a week. How do you look at that? Is it a competitive FC Copenhagen squad for that match?
For which match, sorry?
The match in next week.
The conference game and the league game. Yeah, for sure. We'll have a competitive team out. We probably won't have as much depth as maybe what we used to, but I think that's the same for all teams that participate in games in pre-season. It's a unique situation where we start off with one of the most important games for our season, which is unique. But obviously for everyone else that's operating in world football, that's not a concern for them. So, players that we're negotiating on now, they're not working fast because we have a game next week. They're working in their own environment, trying to make sure the right decisions. We have to try to push and manoeuvre to get the players here as quick as possible without, doing some of the usual things which are, you wouldn't want to get involved in, which is overpaying or picking the wrong players. And some of these decisions that we take now will impact further down the track because signing players on multiple year deals, we have to get the right players. We have to get the balance between being patient and being active. The game's really, really important. But we feel that when we get to next week, we'll have a really, really competitive team. And look, when you get in these cup competitions against teams and leagues that you don't play very often, you could have your full strength team. And, across 2 legs you can lose. That's what makes the competition so important. But we're not underestimating the opposition, and we're making sure that the training, the programme, the group that we've got at the minute is ready to go. And like you said, if we can add 1 or 2 additions, that's great, but they have to be the right players.
How important is it to strengthen the defence before that game?
I think it's as important as anywhere else. We have some players that can play multiple positions. Obviously, Bo and the coaches will decide what they think our best setup for that game is in that type of 2-leg affair. So for us, like you said, we're really excited about Alex's arrival today. We've got other players that are in the pipeline. Hopefully we'll be able to get some of them moving over the coming days and weeks. But I can't set a deadline. I'm 100% comfortable with the coach setting a deadline because he wants us to move, and we should have an aspirational coach for FC Copenhagen. So that's perfectly fine. We're working all hours. Me and Bo on the phone last night, I think 1:30 a.m, which is probably not healthy, but we're trying to make sure that we're using all the time available to make the best decisions.
But is it relevant to think that new players can come in and play a role on Thursday?
Yeah, for sure. Players come from one training camp to the next and perform in teams straight away. I thought whether we're talking about the optimal or not, they're a completely different situation. But it's not optimal to be playing tournament football on your first game of the season. This is the reality, and we have to operate with no excuses. And everybody here at the training facility understands that. The team understand that. And when we go out next week in the fixture, we're doing what we always do, which is representing FC Copenhagen, representing the supporters, and we have to do our best.
You signed Alex Kral today, but it was nowhere to read how long a contract he have been given here. Can you tell us that?
It's a 2-year contract initially.
Did Bo know him from Berlin? Did he get to see him play?
Not entirely sure in terms of the playing crossover, but from a character perspective, and obviously seeing him in the games both on the video and live, Bo has a really good understanding of Alex, and I think that was one of the pulls for us that we felt from a recruitment standpoint. It was a really, really good acquisition, more so because the player's got some tactical flexibility, and he's a different profile to what we have. You add on top of the layer around certainty. You know, we know the boy, we've interviewed him, we've spoken to him, and then the coach knows him and has spent time with him. Obviously, what you want to try to do is minimise the risk, and I think with Alex, we're minimising the risk on the pitch because of his level, and off the pitch, we have a really good character references and understanding what type of player he is and what type of person he is. And we think, like I think I put in my statement, that he'll be a big enhancement for our squad.
But when looking at his CV, there's lots of loan. Why isn't that a red flag for you?
Why isn't his loans a red flag? Look, it's such a transient business. You know, I think you have to be really, really careful drawing in assumptions on where a player is and what's going on. There's so many reasons nowadays players can get moved around. The loan market's become so active in the last 10 years. For us, it's about what's best for us, not what's gone in the past.
When you talk about making these early additions in the window, does the World Cup also affect what you are able to at this point?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm glad you mentioned it because I was going to bring it up, but it sounds like an excuse sometimes when you bring it up because every season that I've been involved in senior football where there's a European competition, you know, for example, we have a player that we would like to get on loan. The club doesn't want to release them yet because they're waiting for their player who's on vacation to come back. And this goes back to the situation is we're doing what's best for our club. Other clubs are doing what's best for their club. We have to try and find a bit in the middle. And then we have to adjust our decision making to make sure that we get the right one at the right time. You know, we're not in a luxurious position where you can wait to the deadline. We never want to do that in any setting. We want to try to move quickly and swiftly. But you are obviously dictated to by player availability. And at the minute, there are some players that are in our market that are being affected by that. But like I said, it's not an excuse, it's just probably the reality. But it's also important that, you know, I can communicate that reality. But eventually we have to deliver.
But Kral was on a free, so couldn't he be taken on earlier?
Yeah, for sure. Alex is a high level player. Alex has also got offers on the table from different places. So he has to make the best decision for Alex Kral, and we have to convince him to come, which wasn't easy. So, you know, that conversation's been going on for a good 2 weeks. You have to convince the player on the project. You have to make sure that he understands where he fits in. He's an aspirational character, so he's not just coming to Copenhagen for a holiday, he's coming here to make an impact on the pitch and off the pitch. And for him, he obviously wanted to make sure that everything was right for him, and then we obviously managed to get the contract sorted. So it's easy to say he's free, should have been done in one day, but you know, I think if you guys were all going to take a new job somewhere, you'd probably take a little bit of time to consider it before you signed on the dotted line.
There's been reports, obviously, about the future of Jordan Larsson, reports about Pantelis. Has it been a requirement that the club has got to sell some players before they could buy one?
No, it's not a requirement to sell before we buy. I think it's probably, again, a unique situation. If I'm looking at this window, we have offers on some of the players, and that's obviously means that there's an appearance that they need to move out. It's just coincidence really more than anything. You know, it could have been a different setting over the last week where 2 players had arrived and no one had moved and no one would have said that. So I think the main thing is we understand the speculation, that's absolutely fine, the questions are fine. When we get further into the window, we need to have a settled and balanced squad, and that's what we should hopefully be judged on.
But can you confirm that Panther left yesterday and Jordan will be leaving when the situation in Saudi Arabia is clear?
He will leave when he's signed at another club, and like they said, there's ongoing conversations about that. Everyone's aware of that. I don't think there's no point hiding around that, but you know, we have to be respectful to everyone involved in the process. These guys are moving their profession, their families. There's all these different things that are going on for them. And like I said, when those deals are concluded, then obviously we'll communicate appropriately.
Are he still in Copenhagen?
I have no idea where he is today.
Obviously, there's a lot of talk about the squad and the transfer window because the team finished as they did in March 1st. They failed to reach the championship place. So for more than 4 months, there's been this focus on strengthening the team. How do you think the club has managed to strengthen the team? I guess 5 key players left since then.
Yeah, like, you know, it's probably a little bit of a boring answer for you, but I think there's 3 ways. One is you're developing talent. So there's lots of work been going here about developing some of this young talent that's coming into the team. So that shouldn't be underestimated. You have to get the very best out of the current crop of players you have. So some of the players that finished 7th for the team last year also played in the last 16 in the Champions League. So I think we have to be fair and balanced in our judgment. And the final piece is this trading element to try to buy and sell. So, you know, the trading piece has been happening before I got here. We signed Felix, we let players go, new players are on contracts. There's loads of really good coaching and development and performance work going on with the squad. And you can see from the games you've just seen over the last couple of weeks, we've got some really good young players coming through. So, I understand the focus on the transfer window because it's arguably the most interesting, and it's the bit that everyone can sort of engage and see. I suppose for us on this side of the fence, it's probably a bit more boring. We're also interested in the other elements, but we're not underestimating the need to make sure that we use the window really effectively before it finishes, and that's what we'll continue to try to do.
You have 4 goalkeepers in your first team squad. You can only play one in each game. Is that the right amount of goalkeepers?
Look, all the goalkeepers, and it's the same for any position, the programme that they're in has to be relevant for where they're at, and you need competition. So at the present time, we need to get the balance right to make sure that we've got the competition. Obviously, at the present time, Dominic's not with us. He returns in a few days. So he's been away with the World Cup squad. So, this is where we need to strengthen depth as well. And then we need to use the market as well to make sure we place players, not necessarily in the goalkeepers, but across the squad, that if they require a loan or they need something for their development that gets them stronger to play for our team in the future, then we have to do that as well.
You touched upon the free transfers, of course, Kristjaan. Are there, the money and the budget to put this big offer for the next key player in FC Copenhagen?
Yeah, for sure. I think, like I said, I don't like the free player tag. I don't think any players are free. There's always costs associated. So I think it's a bit of a fallacy. But yeah, in terms of investing, we have to find the right ones to invest in. So for us at the minute, our recruitment team, our coaching team, we're analysing players. I think I would probably, if I had to say, the vast majority of the players that are on our board at the minute are players that would involve a transfer fee. So if that makes you feel more comfortable, but ultimately it's about getting the right players and it's about getting the right profiles. So we obviously have a financial piece. We can't just keep spending. That doesn't make any sense for any football club. So we have to get balance. And my job is to try to make sure that we make the right picks and we get the right balance in those selections.
You wouldn't comment that much on Jakob Brun Larsen the last time. Is he a player that you are in dialogue with now?
No, you know my answer. That's going to be, I'm not going to discuss anything because we have players on our board. And like you said, there are some available players. The vast majority of them are at clubs, so I think it's really disrespectful. And I wouldn't like someone to be talking about our players to unsettle a player or to put it into the market that creates any issues. I think that's probably a mutual respect between clubs. I get it that you guys have to ask, and I'd be very surprised if you didn't. But at the minute, we're going to keep a close shop on all those ins.
When you're talking about all these players you have on the board, how many of these players were also on the board in this club before you arrived?
Oof, that is a very good question. Yeah, look, I don't know, maybe I'll give you 60-40, 70-30, I don't know. I think it's difficult. I think when you're going through, we've reshaped that work a little bit under what I feel I'm more comfortable with, but that doesn't mean to say that the players are new or some of the players have been refreshed, some of the profiles we've looked at, and also there's some players that are on the board, if you like, that are off the board and then they're back on the board because certain things chop and change with the players that we've got. And it's about us getting the right balance. So we have to be really agile and really adapt. We have to adapt really quickly in the window, and every single day it changes, and that's what makes it, I suppose, exciting for you guys, for supporters. Semi-exciting for us, albeit obviously it's a tough period to navigate. But like I said, it is what it is. It's our job.
What is happening around Elias Ajouri at the moment?
He's a player that I think for us could end up with an offer, but we're not there yet in terms of where we're at. I think it's well documented. I think last January he nearly left. I think I'm right in saying that. So from our perspective, he's a player that's done magnificently well for us. He's a great kid. Sat with him yesterday having coffee. Like I said, it's a transient world. So 1 minute a player can be here, the next minute they can't. He's not looking to move per se, I don't think, from my understanding. But at the same time, if there's a deal that can be constructed, then obviously we're always in the market for trying to look at ways to keep improving the team.
So you can't confirm that San Diego has an offer on the table?
I cannot confirm that.
What's the goal for FC Copenhagen for this coming season in Europe and in the Super League?
Woof, what a question. Look, our identity is to win, and our ambition is always to win. So I don't think me coming to this football club is going to change that in any shape or form, or anyone should change that. This is an iconic Scandinavian team, probably the most iconic. And our mission statement always at the start is to win games and get as close to the title as possible. It's a competitive league. Maybe next year it's going to be as competitive as it's ever been. I don't know. You guys are probably better informed on that. You've seen more Danish football in the last 10 years than I have. But, you can be rest assured the number one thing we have to be is the best version of ourselves. And we will be the best version of ourselves, for sure.
Er I tilfredse? Okay.
Thanks.
Yes,
Thank you.
thanks.
All good?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for the shade.
Under gruppespillet ved VM havde Unibet højere pre-match odds på kampene end både Danske Spil og Bet365. Så gå ind på Unibet og spil med på VM i dag. Vi ses hos Unibet.